Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our classroom session. I'm Jennifer Holland, Program Manager for Classroom Expeditions and Forms.
And I'm Ope Bacola, Product Manager for Classroom.
So we're thrilled to get to spend our Saturday evening with all of you. Hope you have a nice beverage in hand, and we'll hopefully take you through what Classroom is. If you're new to Classroom, talk about some of the new features and functionality we've added and ways that you can engage with our product team. So with that, I'm going to show you a few slides, and then we'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end. So if you do have questions, please add them to the website, the Education on Air website, and we'll go through those at the end. So without further ado, you'll see a slide in a second. So a little bit about why and how we built Classroom. So G Suite for Education, formerly known as Google Apps for Education, had been around since 2006, and we gave that away to teachers and students globally. And one of the things we saw was that, it's a wonderful and powerful tool for collaboration, but if you truly are going paperless, the workflow is actually quite difficult. Teachers have to spend a lot of time creating multiple copies, sharing those files, making sure that they were appropriately added and in the right folder, and a lot of time was spent on peer organization. This slide is actually taken from a second grade class in Chicago Public Schools, where you can see step by step how the teacher instructed her students to upload a file to Drive. Second graders are just basically reading and functioning, and so to have to learn how to do all of this was pretty taxing. So we knew that there was opportunity to streamline that workflow. And what we did was we started working alongside teachers and students to actually develop Classroom, and then we launched it just over 2 years ago to the world. So Classroom is mission control for teachers and students. We worked with hundreds of teachers and students to develop it. Like I mentioned earlier, that Chicago Classroom was one example of one of the classes we worked with. And we continue to listen closely to feedback from schools and districts and teachers and students. It saves teachers time by reducing paperwork, keeping everything organized in one place, and allows for new kinds of collaboration between students and teachers and among other students. Our mission is to free teachers from mundane tasks and paperwork so that they have more time to work with their students and plan lessons and do what they love most, which is teaching, not necessarily all the administrative tasks. And our goal is to ultimately help students stay organized. So this is a screenshot of what Classroom looks like. It helps improve class communication. So teachers can make announcements, they can create assignments, or they can ask a question in real time. And this is just one example from the stream. The other thing that Classroom does well is it weaves together Docs and Drive and Gmail so that teachers can easily create and collect assignments paperlessly. And they don't have to, again, spend time battling the copy machine to make copies or create multiple copies in the digital world. And finally, it helps keep everybody organized. Classroom automatically creates Google Drive folders for each assignment and each student, and it integrates calendars so that students and families can stay up to date on work that's due and when it's due. And since we launched Classroom August 2015, we've seen it grow rapidly with just in a few years. Students and teachers are actively using Classroom day in and day out. And a key piece of it's a key piece for G Suite for Education. It's an included service for all education accounts. And does anyone know how much Classroom costs? Too bad you can't actually tell us. It's actually free. And it also is, it's free for all educators and students globally, and it's unlimited. You don't have to worry about storage, just like all of the rest of G Suite for Education. And we have over 60 million students and teachers that are using G Suite for Education around the world, and over 20 million teachers and students using Classroom. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ope, who's going to tell you a little bit about what's new and what's launched in Classroom.
Thanks, Jen. So I'm going to just talk to you about a couple of new features that we've recently added to Classroom. One of the great things about Classroom is that since our launch about 2 years ago, we've been constantly adding to and improving the product. So as we all know, parent participation has a major impact on student learning. And we recently launched a feature in Google Classroom that automatically shares summaries of student work with their parents. Once parents are invited by a teacher, they can receive automated daily or weekly email summaries of their student work and class announcements. And this makes it really easy for parents to stay up to date on what's happening in the classroom. And we've seen great reaction from families that are now better able to participate in their students' work. Another thing that we launched recently in the Classroom mobile app are annotations. So in addition to a web application, Classroom has mobile apps for Android and iOS, which is great for students because they can really get their work and do their work on the go. And using annotations, students can now complete assignments, sketch out math problems, create visuals, directly on their devices. So this really gives students a portable classroom whiteboard in which they can easily draw and sketch. And thinking through complex homework challenges from home, school, or even on the bus is quite easy with annotations. Teachers can also use annotations to quickly grade assignments by writing directly on student work or highlighting the most important passages in a text or novel. We've seen a lot of really great use cases of annotation since launching it. And here's one example. So Anne Ferrara, an English teacher in Medfield Public Schools, explains how her lessons benefited from her high school students annotating a critique of Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. So the students highlighted the ideas they thought were convincing arguments in one color and all the ideas they disagreed with in another color. And Anna says, quote, "This gave me the chance to assess students' individual understanding and based on their responses, gather ideas for future lessons." So parent communication and annotations are just two examples of recent features that we've launched in Classroom. And overall, Classroom made using Google tools in a class quite magical. But we know this isn't enough. We know that teachers and students are using a myriad of tools in their class. And one of the most common problems is interoperability. So these tools don't often talk to each other, and that creates more work. So we also offer ways for other developers to integrate with Classroom. We have a Classroom Share button, which is a really simple way to let teachers and students quickly assign links and images and videos to Classroom, very similar to a share button for Pinterest or Twitter, for example. So a lot of popular sites, including the American Museum of Natural History, PBS, you'll see the Classroom share button there. Classroom also has an API, which lets other applications integrate even more deeply into Classroom. So for example, you could reuse your Classroom roster in another application that you're using. Or in this example, you see an application, GeoGebra, which is quite popular for math, where teachers can actually assign assignments through GeoGebra, and as their students complete it, the assignments are automatically graded in Classroom. And with our share button and our API, hundreds of applications have integrated with Google Classroom. And here you can just see a small sample of sites and applications that work really well with Classroom. So I'm not going to play this video now, but after the session, I definitely encourage everyone to watch the video and really see how Classroom has impacted teachers and students globally. And before we jump into the Q&A, just to let you know, we're always adding new features to Google Classroom, and a lot of these features are developed in partnership with our teachers and students. So to let us know what you'd like to see in Classroom, please send us feedback. In the application, you'll see a question mark icon. You can click on that to send feedback, and we read every single piece of feedback we get. And using some of these links, you can also find out what's new in Classroom, or visit our help forum, which is staffed by a lot of teachers like you to ask your questions and answer other folks' questions too.
So with that, we wanted to go to our questions. So We'll just start going down the list. So as a reminder, you can add your questions to the Google for Education on Air website, and we're just going to go through and pick a sampling of those questions. So let's go here. So is or will annotations be available on a Chromebook? Great question. So right now, annotations is available on the mobile apps, like Ope mentioned. If this is something that you want to see on a Chromebook, please let us know. Again, using that send feedback button. We haven't gotten a ton of requests from that. And as Ope mentioned, we decide what to build based on input from teachers and students globally. And we do read every single piece of feedback. I'm that person that does that and have a team, and we're really serious about teacher feedback. So if it's, again, something that you want to see, please make sure to let us know.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add on to that is, in general, very soon, Android apps are going to be available on Chromebooks. So within the next couple of months, I think in early Q1 of next year, you'll start seeing Chromebooks in the market that support, for education, that support Android apps. And when that happens, you'll be able to run the Classroom mobile apps on your touchscreen Chrome devices. And then in that case, you would be able to use annotations. So that's going to be another opportunity for annotations on Chromebooks.
Yep. So there are a few questions about our slides. We actually have a ton of resources in our Help Center, which basically has a lot of these GIFs and these images and the videos. So if you are in Classroom, and if you were to just go to classroom.google.com and log in, you'll actually, if you click on that question mark at the bottom of the screen, you'll actually get links to the Help Center, to the forum, to the feedback page. Basically everything that you need access to is all right there.
So someone else asks, what kinds of devices are used by students, PC, iPads, smartphones? So what's great about Classroom is that it's really built to work on any device. So you can use Classroom on the web. And as I mentioned, we also have an Android and iOS app. A lot of folks use Classroom on Chromebooks, but we also see pretty heavy usage on iPad devices or other mobile devices. So Classroom, like most of G Suite for Education, is designed to be device agnostic.
Yeah, and we see that students work on a variety of different devices at any given point. So they might toggle between different devices. Can you change the due time? I can only get it to default to 11:59 p.m.
Yeah, so this is a question about a feature in the application. So yes, you can change assignment due times. We default it to 11:59, which is the end of the day if you just give the assignment a due date. So if it's due on a particular date, we choose the last minute of that date. But if you want it to be due at a specific time, you can change that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of teachers actually require that or they'll change the due time to just before the class. So you have that flexibility. And again, if you have any questions about how to do or how to change the due time, you can just click the link in the Help Center and you'll get step-by-step instructions for how to do that. I should also say, actually, since there were questions about the presentation, there's tons of resources on the Google for Education Training Center. Classroom is woven into many of the units. Opie and I helped write a lot of the content with teachers for those sections. So if you want to see even more just applications for how you could use Classroom, how teachers are using it, the types of workflows that work or that are optimized for Classroom, definitely check out the Google for Education Training Center, and you can just search for that in a browser.
Cool. And someone asks, any plans for integrating some form of gradebook with more power than simple data? That's a great question and one we get often. So we haven't integrated a full-featured gradebook into Classroom right now because we know a lot of teachers are using gradebooks that are mandated by their schools or their district. That's definitely feedback we're getting and something that we're thinking about. I should say, for those who don't know, because this is a feature we have that I often find people don't know about, there is a way for you to export all of your classroom grades to a Google Sheet, and that Google Sheet does have some gradebook functionality, so it calculates your class average, etc. So from any assignment page, if you on the top right, you click on the gear icon, that will let you copy all your grades to a Google Sheet.
I will say I want to point out one thing because I think it's kind of unique for how we design our products and functionality. Is we look holistically, obviously, about the different workflows that teachers and students need and go through on a daily basis. And if we were to prioritize features and functionality, we're trying to build things that, the majority of our users are asking for and are needing, but also not necessarily reinventing the wheel. And given that there are, grade books that so many schools have already committed to and aren't changing, it just hasn't been high on the priority because teachers are still having to report their grades in another system. But if there are specific things that you want to see or features within a grade book that you want to see added to Classroom, please let us know.
So I see a couple of questions related to the parent and guardian email summaries, so I'll try to answer a few of them together. One is, how do you email summaries to the parents? And another is a request to see the summary and for students to see it. So in general, the summaries are automatically generated by Classroom. As we started talking to teachers about what they'd like to see to parents, one of the things that we learned is that they want to save time, right? So they don't necessarily want to spend time every week generating content. So we really designed this to be very simple for teachers. So once a teacher invites a parent for a certain student and the parent accepts the invitation, every week Classroom will automatically generate the summary. And what that summary has in it is it will include any missing work that the student has from the last week, any upcoming work, so things that are due in the next week, and then a summary of everything that the student's teacher has posted in class so that parents can see those. As well. So those summaries are auto-generated. By default, we do it weekly, but a lot of parents also have chosen to get those summaries every week. And in terms of having teachers see it, so you can see an example through Classroom when you're on the page that shows all your students. You can click to see an example, but we don't yet have a way for you as a teacher to see a real one for one of your students. But if that's something that you'd like, make sure you send us feedback.
Yeah. There was a few. There's been more that came in. So, let's see. Can we change the grading? I think that's a good one. We use not achieved. So on the grading options, one, you can change the numerical value. You can also add, however you grade, you can actually add that in the comments option in Classroom. So if you have a scale that's not points based, you can easily add a grade in the comments field within the grading page. And so we see a lot of teachers actually do that if they want to be able to put all of their grading in one place. Is there a way to organize the stream, Ope?
Sure. So this is definitely a question we get a lot from teachers, which is, how do I organize my classroom stream so it's easy? So one of the other features that we launched recently a few months ago is the ability to organize, so tag items in the stream by topic and then filter them by topic. And what we see a lot of teachers using this to do is to really create an organizational structure. So you might have, if you have different units, unit 1 as a topic, unit 2, etc., and then tagging the specific post for that unit. And then that makes it really easy for you to have students go to it directly. And then another thing that doesn't fully organize the stream but helps you if you really want to focus your students on one post is the ability to bump a post to the top of the stream. So you can take any post, move it to the top. Maybe it's what you really want students to see during class that session, and make sure it's the thing that's at the very top of that stream.
Let's see. Let's do this one. Any plans for having a self-grading short answer option?
That's a really cool feature request. So the question is plans for having a self-grading short answer option. Classroom doesn't directly have a self-grading option, but one of the things that we try to make sure we do in Classroom is use the full power of Google. So Google Forms, I'm sure many of you out there use Google Forms. Recently, a few months ago, also launched quizzes, which are self-grading. So as a teacher, you can create a quiz, select the correct answer, and this can include short answers. So say like the answer is this text, and then the quizzes are automatically graded. So that's a great option, and Classroom and Forms has a really nice integration as well.
Yeah. I came as you were just talking about annotations. From what I heard, this would be great for tests. Can you elaborate on annotations and where I find it?
Do you want to take that one? Or?
Yeah. So we launched annotations earlier this year. And so one is it's available on our mobile apps, and you can, there's a whole Help Center article that I'd recommend going through. And again, you can access that Help Center article right from the product itself. So you just click that question mark in the bottom left corner and click the Help Center link. I think it's up to how you want to use the feature. We see a lot of teachers use annotations in a variety of different ways. Definitely teachers assign different worksheets and functionality and have students turn that in. So there's no rhyme or reason why you can't use annotations for your tests. Let's see.
Should we get through all the questions that we haven't answered yet?
We're just loading the next page so we can see the questions. I think we got through everything.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks again for spending your Saturday with us. We love getting to talk to teachers. Unfortunately, we didn't get to hear any of your voices, but appreciate all of your questions. And if you need ever to reach us, the best way to reach us is by clicking that send feedback button. And I know we've said it a lot, but repetition doesn't spoil the prayer. And that's really how we actually prioritize all our features and functionality. So please send us any ideas, feature requests. You can also join our forum and our community. As Ope mentioned, there are a number of teachers. Michael Fricano, which I saw, he joined this conversation. He's answering some of the questions on the site. He's one of our top contributors, and there's a whole group of teachers that help support one another by answering each other's questions. So those are two really great resources that you have linked from the product, and we are excited to hear your feedback. So thanks for spending your Saturday with us, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.